the Dems favor, at least it appears, violence on mega voters. So this is important, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very important because the Democrats have listened to Joe Biden when he spoke, I believe it was about a week ago in Pennsylvania. And Joe Biden said that Republicans are semi-fascists. That is a fact. That is what Joe Biden said. And now we have some Democrats that are elected who are taking his lead. And they're taking his lead by suggesting violence on Republicans. So first you have the President of the United States saying half of the country is semi-fascist. And what would you expect? Of course, some people to potentially say when they have someone like Biden, maybe they voted for him and they think, oh, yeah, that's right. That might justify doing bad things. And then you have, of course, Illinois saying, yeah, you might as well do them. Because if you can do those bad things, when you think about this really thoroughly, if you can do bad things to the people who you disagree with politically, it will be consequence-free. Potentially consequence-free. Imagine being in Illinois, Chicago in particular, and attacking someone and potentially beating them very badly and stealing their wallet at the same time simply because they were wearing a Make America Great Again hat in downtown Chicago. The individual that conducted and engaged in the beating, the criminal, would not have cash bail, would just be immediately processed right out. And I would think that it would be very likely that a jury in the city of Chicago would probably give them a pass when there was a trial. Probably give them a pass, let them go free. It would be consequence-free. And why? Because the President of the United States says this is okay, combined with these idiots who are running these cities that are making an environment and creating an environment where violence is okay, where violence is consequence-free. So more Democrats have now joined Joe Biden and Biden's crusade to attack the mega Republicans. So Tim Ryan, who's running for United States Senate as a Democrat in the state of Ohio, okay? Tim Ryan is currently a congressman. He tries to present himself as a moderate, as a pro-working man Democrat. And of course, he's none of those at all. But he's running for United States Senate nonetheless in the state of Ohio. And Tim Ryan comes out and says, it's time to kill and confront extremist mega Republicans. Can you believe that? I mean, here's a guy that was considered by most people in the country who have heard him speak over the years to be kind of a moderate Democrat, at least as it's defined in the modern era. Does this sound like a moderate Democrat to you? We have the clip, and here it is.
From Republicans, it's not the extremists that we're dealing with every single day. We've got to kill and confront that movement. But working with normal mainstream Republicans, I think that's going to be really, really.
Yes, that's Tim Ryan saying we have to kill and confront that movement. So what does that mean? So if you're an average Democrat that's out there and you are super ideological and you are super partisan and you hear some of your thought leaders saying that, you hear Joe Biden saying they're semi-fascists, the mega Republicans are semi-fascists. You hear Congressman Tim Ryan saying that we must kill and confront extremist mega, Republicans or kill the movement. This is dangerous language, ladies and gentlemen, and it's combined with what they're doing in the blue states and blue cities by making it okay to commit crimes. And you have to ask yourself the question, as I have, and here's the question. Is this coordinated? Is this intentional? Or is it just kind of a coincidence that in America's cities, they're making it easier to commit some of the most heinous crimes, consequence-free, while at the same time, we have a president of the United States who is saying that the Republicans are semi-fascists. And a sitting U.S. congressman who's running for United States Senate calling for extremist Republicans to be confronted, or at least the movement to be confronted and killed. So what does that actually mean? If you say the movement should be confronted and killed, then aren't you saying at the same time that it's okay to potentially confront and kill leaders of the movement? Yes. That's an easy nexus to make by, some sick person that's out there that might see you as a leader. This is wrong. This is so bad, ladies and gentlemen. And why are they doing this? They're doing this to stir up their base, but ultimately what they're doing is creating civil unrest. They being the Democrats, they are literally intentionally trying to create civil unrest so that they can hold on to power. It's just the most remarkable thing. And so that was, of course, Tim Ryan who did that. And so then, if that weren't enough, we have a senator, a sitting United States senator. She's a Democrat. She's probably the single dumbest person in the United States Senate. But nonetheless, her voice matters because she is one of only 100 elite United States senators elected. Mazie Hirono. She's from Hawaii. She had a speech on the Senate floor. And it's the most remarkable thing to hear because this has all happened since Joe Biden gave his mega Republicans or semi-fascist speech. Here is Mazie Hirono. Listen to her speech. Listen to this.
When I hear my colleagues talking about how, it should be states' rights or government should not be telling us what to do, the word hypocrites, it doesn't even go far enough to call them out on what they're doing. This is an outright attack on women in this country. That is how I see it. That is how more and more women and those who support our right to make decisions about our own bodies, that is how we see it. And why? Because that's what's happening. Madam President, I yield the floor, but clearly, this is a literally call to arms in our country. Yield the floor.
So there you have a sitting United States senator from Hawaii calling for arms against mega Republicans. Calling for arms, ladies and gentlemen, on the Senate floor. That in and of itself is enough for any reasonable leadership of the United States Senate or in the United States House of Representatives to censure that person for saying that on the floor. Because there is politicking outside of the Senate chamber. And then there is the decorum that you must have in the Senate chamber. And what you don't do is call for arms against your fellow citizens. That's the equivalent of calling for civil war, ladies and gentlemen. That is literally what she did. On the Senate floor, the sitting senator from Hawaii. So we have a couple of tweets that went out about these idiots. One is for Ryan, people that have been commenting, of course. Tim Ryan on supposed extremist Republicans. We have to kill and confront that movement. And of course, we have plenty of other tweets about this dummy from Hawaii who said that, who's saying that there should be a call for arms. Dana Loesch says, the left has said for years that this language is an absolute call to violence. Thus, Mazie Hirono and Democrats are calling for violent armed conflict against pro-life supporters. So, Chris, who was our millennial on the other side of the camera, said, well, what about the attack on those who are unborn? Isn't that kind of like, but they don't see this. These individuals have really lost their minds. And I have to tell you that the reason we're calling this Exodus Part 2 isn't just because of their stupid policies in the blue cities, which we've talked about during this episode, and what is encouraging people to leave en masse from San Francisco, from Chicago, from New York City, as an example. But we also are talking about the other kind of less obvious reasons that people are leaving, namely that they're really concerned for their safety in these places. Because if you live in a place where 70, 80% of the people are on the other side of the aisle, it used to not matter. It wouldn't matter, right? Why would it matter? Because I live in, New York City, for example. I don't, by the way, but let's just say I live in New York City and 85% of the people are Democrats. And normally that wouldn't matter because that's what's great about this country. You're a critical thinker. All issues are people issues. They shouldn't be ideological issues. But the Democrats are encouraging in those cities you to be hurt because you live in that city as a minority. Isn't that interesting? The very party that says they are all about supporting minorities is encouraging minorities to be hurt in those cities. So there's this interesting coalescence of bad policy, but also the feeling of the fact that it's not going to get better anytime soon in these blue cities. And I believe that you're going to see a good amount of people leaving, including a lot of people who are so-called unaffiliated or independents as they are registered, but are terrified of saying so, and therefore realize that critical thinking no longer matters, having critical thinking skills. They just have to leave in order to be able to feel safe about their property and their person. And I have no doubt that is the root cause of this mass exodus part 2.